The Ducks are mighty again. We'll get into Anaheim's hot start on this season this weekend. It's the Hockey Hall of Fame. Preview the 2025 class and our 3 stars of the week.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome inside this Wednesday, November 5th edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. I'm Ross Levitan. You can find me 5 days a week over at Locked On Senators. With me, as always, it is the Battle of Ontario edition from Locked On Maple Leafs, Mike DiStefano. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Mikey, the Anaheim Ducks have added some green numbers to my account because they're still plus money on many nights, but they're off to a screeching hot start, 8-3-1 under new head coach Joel Quenneville.
Yeah, and they won 4 in a row here, man, and it's really impressive. Like I had a feeling that they were gonna take some steps, but I didn't think it'd be that quick. You know, where this team all of a sudden is leading the division, but it's more so the individuals that have really, picked it up this year and are taking steps that is surprising me. Like Gauthier, as of today, November 5th, we're almost a month into the season. We're a day shy from being a month into the season. He's tied with the league leading goals. Like, who saw that coming from Gauthier? Leo Carlsson has 18 points in like 11 games. Like, again, who saw that coming? So I think the Anaheim Ducks deserve a lot of credit for where they're at. And I think Joel Quenneville specifically deserves a lot of credit. You can say what you want about the guy and whether or not he should be in the league still coaching, but he's a good coach, man. He's a really, really good coach. And you can see it's very indicative of what he's been able to get from this Anaheim Ducks squad that's been kind of stuck in the mud over the last few years.
And they do have some veterans sprinkled throughout the lineup, and 2 of them, courtesy the New York Rangers. How much do the Ducks have Chris Drury to thank for their start? Because Jacob Trouba, he's turned back the clock, man. 8 points in 12 games, 34 hits, 25 blocks, and he's a plus 11, all in 17 minutes a night. So maybe the problem with the Rangers is trying to make him a top pair defenseman. Looks like the minutes are down a little bit, and the production is as good as it's been in years.
Yeah, and even, Chris Kreider, 7 goals in 8 games.
Such a Chris Kreider stat line, 7 goals, 1 assist.
Oh, yeah, Cy Young worthy each and every year. But, I mean, they're getting a little bit from everyone, even their rookie, Beckett Seneca, who came in, it's his first year in the NHL. He's got 4 goals, 7 points, so he's putting up some, he's been a bit slow. That's kind of surprising to me. The fact that Mason McTavish only has 2 goals and Jackson Lacombe just 5 assists. And I think a couple of those even came last night. So those 2 having slow starts to the year, but despite that, they're still leading the Pacific Division is quite surprising to me. So there's a lot of guys who have stepped up, I guess, for this Anaheim team. From the veterans, Troy Terry's got 15 points in 12 games as well. Mikael Granlund's got 8 points to the young Bucks, and Carlsson and Gauthier obviously leading the way here for the Ducks.
And I fully believe in Mason McTavish still. He missed part of training camp with the contract situation, so I think he's going to be able to get on the right track. According to Daily Faceoff, their last game, it was McTavish, Gauthier, and Seneca. Like that's an average age of 21 years old for that line. So The future is extremely bright in Anaheim. Do you believe that it's still going to stay bright this season? Or could we see some regression and have them fall down? I don't think anyone expects them to finish higher than Vegas and Edmonton in the Pacific, but are these guys a playoff team from what you've seen so far?
It might be still a tad too early to say that for sure they're a playoff club. I'm not sure if I'm willing to bet on it quite yet, but it's been very encouraging. Even the goaltending has been pretty solid. Lucas Dostal, one of the young up-and-coming goaltenders, like a .912 save percentage, which is above league average. He's got a couple shutouts so far on the year as well, I think, possibly. But he's played really, really well this season. So as long as he can keep doing what he's doing, they'll be okay. The problem is, I guess you could say, I'm looking on moneypuck.com. You look at goal differential above expected, and they have the fourth highest goal differential above expected. So they're getting a little lucky so far this season. They're scoring more goals than expected, but also allowing less goals than expected. So the underlying numbers aren't as rosy for this team. You look at expected goal differential based off of percentages, and this team is near, a little lower, lower on the list when you look at the overall analytics. They're 46% expected goal differential, which is 27th in the NHL. So that number is what gives me hesitancy. What's that stat? PDO. They're on a bit of a PDO bender right now, I think is the phrase that the nerds use there. So I could see some regression settling in here for Anaheim, but I think it's very positive that we're seeing some of those young stars start to emerge. They might need another year to get there to become, that top team in the Pacific or become a contender in the West. But I think it's still very encouraging early on.
Do you like them at plus 115 to make the playoffs at FanDuel?
No, I don't. And it's really just because I think the West has a lot more teams that are, capable of making the playoffs. If they're in the East, maybe, because I think that the East is a bit more wide open. But when I look at the West, I just like who's coming out. You know what I mean? Like who's the team that they're going to displace? Like you look in the Central, you got Colorado, Winnipeg, and Utah. I think all three of those are going to be firmly in the playoffs. Utah's a wagon, another team. Vegas, Dallas, LA. I think Edmonton's getting their act together. They'll be in the playoff picture in no time. Like Vancouver, could they get themselves there? I think Minnesota's a good enough team to get themselves back into that playoff picture. So I just think there's too many teams here that I see as playoff teams. Is it impossible for Anaheim to sneak in? No. But if I had to bet on it, I think we'll see some regression, and maybe next year's their year.
Yeah, heck of a start, though, for them, really riding the hot streaks of Leo Carlsson, Cutter Gauthier, and Troy Terry, each with 15-plus points in the Ducks' 12 games on the season. Lucas Dostal, I'm almost ready to crown him the starter for Czechia already at the Olympics. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, and they've got two in goal. Peter Mrazek with an .831 save percentage, still 2-0 on the season. Couple high-scoring victories in his outings. But, yeah, they're a fun team to watch, and I'm really excited to see how they grow towards the end of the year and beyond, because their decor in particular, we talk about Trouba, but the youth especially, it needs to be highlighted with them, because Olin Zellweger was always a high offensive producing player in junior, and he's only got 2 assists in 12 games so far. And then Pavel Mintyukov, same deal, top 10 pick. Yeah. He's only got 3 assists in 12 games. So I think they will produce more offense. They're not by any means hurting the team when they're out there, but it feels like a lot of those guys are still just kind of finding their roles in the NHL, and then the real production will come in the following years. But heck of a start. And if you're a hockey fan in Anaheim, you're fired up about the Anaheim Ducks and their beginning of the season. From the beginning of a season to the end of a career, the Hockey Hall of Fame will hold its annual induction ceremony on the weekend. We'll remind you who's being inducted, why they are deserving of this honor, and then we'll wrap up with potentially a bigger honor than the Hockey Hall of Fame. And that's our Wednesday 3 Stars of the Week. You're listening to Locked On NHL, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. Or it happens to everyone every once in a while. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You get connected with a board-certified doctor 100% online, so no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships directly and discreetly to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our promo code LockedOnNHL so they know that we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Welcome back, Locked On NHL, your team every day. We're part of Locked On Podcast Network, where we have local experts on the biggest stories 5 days a week. For more, go check out one of our local shows like Locked On Senators, Locked On Maple Leafs, and Locked On Anaheim Ducks. We're going to be locked on to the Hockey Hall of Fame this weekend, where some very deserving recipients will be enshrined forever. Mikey, I'll list the names and you give me your general thoughts about the class this weekend. Sure. We've got Zdeno Chara, Duncan Keith, Joe Thornton, Alexander McGillney as the former NHL recipients of the honor, and a pair of women's hockey legends in Jennifer Botterill and Brianna Decker. In the builder category, it's Jack Parker and Danielle Sauvageau, my bad. All right, your thoughts on this group?
Yeah, this seems like it's about time group, right? Like, it's about time that Alex McGillney found himself in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And it's a shame that he's actually not going to be here for the induction ceremony. I guess something popped up and he won't be able to leave Russia to be here for the ceremony. But it feels like for years we've been talking about this guy. He's, being snubbed each and every season, and finally he gets in. I mean, where hockey would be without this guy, like the first player to ever defect Russia to come over and play in the NHL, really was, the trailblazer for that. Do we have a Fedorov, a Bure, a Ovechkin if McGillney wasn't here first? It's a question you just wonder in the what if category, but he did defect. He came over. He was a stud in the NHL, an all-world goal scorer. And it's a shame it took him this long to get into the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's very deserving of and has been for many years. You could say the same for a lot of these guys who are inducted this year. I mean, Zdeno Chara, that guy was just an absolute unit in the NHL for many, many years with Boston, Ottawa. Duncan Keith, obviously, what he did for not only the Blackhawks, but also internationally with Team Canada, being a big part of their blue line in 2010 and 2014. Joe Thornton, how much more can you say about Jumbo Joe? So, and Jennifer Botterill had a very good career as well on the women's side internationally. So I think that this is a really good class, and it's a lot of the guys that you and I, like, we're in that age group where we grew up watching these guys in their prime. It's we've gotten to that point where we're starting to get there, Ross. So we're old now and are getting old. And the guys we watched in our, formative years are aging out and getting into Hall of Fame status. And, seeing Chara, Duncan Keith, Jumbo, McGillney, seeing those guys, get into the Hall is kind of surreal at the same time, but very well deserved for all the players here this weekend.
Yeah, well, I want to focus on one because you mentioned he played for Ottawa, and that's Zdeno Chara. And I know that we age ourselves on this show with this type of thing.
You're showing us the picture?
Because not many people have seen it. That's how old we were with a young Zdeno Chara in the mix.
That's little Rossi Levitan right there in the bottom. Yeah. Little young Ross. What was that? That was like a season ticket holder event or something?
Yeah, it was Sends at Your Service dinner. Like, they replace it. Some teams do like a casino night. Some teams do that sort of thing. So back in the day, they put the cover over the ice and all the servers were members of the team. And then they'd auction off the aprons and all that. And Chara had just gotten a fight with Eric Cairns. I don't know if you remember that mutant.
I remember that guy.
With Pittsburgh. And he had this huge black eye. So I don't know if you noticed the headline of the article, a black eye affair instead of tie. So I like that one. And, dude, the worst day in Sens history. We do in the summer Ring of Honor of the worst mistakes, letting Chara go and re-signing Wade Redden. That was just, that. And the fact that the Sens made the Stanley Cup final the year after Chara left. Like, could you imagine if he was in the mix there? And to add insult to injury, Peter Chiarelli was the AGM in Ottawa and took the Boston job and then that was his first move, was to go get Zdeno Chara and Mark Savard.
Yeah.
The rest is history. Zdeno Chara, not only as an NHL superstar, really an iconic player, the tallest player in NHL history, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yeah,
and
one of, if not the
a second European captain to win the cup right after Nick Lidstrom got it done with Detroit in 2008. And he represented Slovakia at the Olympics 3 times. He was the captain twice and actually led Slovakia to a 4th place finish in Vancouver. They were in the bronze medal game in Vancouver, and Zdeno Chara was a huge part of that. Huge part of my childhood growing up, was always my favorite player. I just love, like, it wasn't like he was this superstar at a young age. He was a 3rd round pick. I had to work on his skating, came over to the WHL, and unreal.
Well, even like, I think even you would have to agree that what he became in Boston, I don't think anyone assumed that that's what Zdeno Chara was going to become. Like, his time in Ottawa, he was a great player. Don't get me wrong, great defenseman. But at that point, you're not thinking this is a Hall of Famer in the making.
I was in the minority, but he was my guy.
Yeah. Well, you were early, I guess. You were early to it. You got that eye. You got a good eye.
Dude, how sad is this? Now, it was the salary cap, but in his Hockey Hall of Fame bio, where you learn about the class, quote, finances dictated that the Senators were unable to re-sign Wade Redden and Chara, so Chara left. Like, what a slap in the face sentence right there.
What just goes to show that they did not, they viewed Wade Redden more so as a future Hall of Famer than Zdeno Chara.
Come on.
So, that's what that tells me. And what they ended up trading Redden, I think, to New York not long after. No?
Yeah, Redden's career highlight. I mean, he was in the Stanley Cup final the next year and was a key part of that, but he definitely took a couple steps down year after year. He was a good defenseman at the time, but clearly they made the wrong decision. Now, Bruins fans, I see you. Wipe that smirk off your face. Let's talk about Joe Thornton being a Hockey Hall of Famer as well. Traded from Boston, shockingly. I still remember, aging ourselves again, listening to the radio, trying to go to bed. And all of a sudden, it was like late at night. It's like, wait, this deal is happening. Joe Thornton is going to San Jose. And
number 1 overall pick? What?
He still is the only, I don't think this will ever be broken. You tell me. The only player in North American pro sports to win the MVP and in a season where he was traded in the middle of the year. When would that ever happen? Like, Luka would be, I guess, the closest in the NBA. Luka Doncic,
right?
But he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
I mean, well, because if you're putting together an MVP caliber season, odds are you're gonna make the playoffs. You're gonna win a championship. Like, it's just kind of the way that it works. Yeah, it's not something you see happen.
Dude, he had 33 points in 23 games with Boston. It's not like he got traded 2 games into the year. Like, he was lighting it up.
That was, and then all of a sudden, the return was so terrible. Was it Marco Sturm?
Yeah, they got their head coach. They were just a bit early.
Yeah, I guess. Sure.
Yeah, I think it was Wayne Primo, Mark Stewart, and Marco Sturm.
Yeah, that's
Brad Stewart. Maybe Brad Stewart.
One of the worst trades of all time. Worked out very well for the San Jose Sharks. I mean, I guess technically Boston won a cup after the trade, and San Jose never did win the cup. They only made it to one final. It was always kind of the team that never could, right? That always failed in terms of their sky high expectations year after year. But man, that was a good Sharks team for a solid decade there, led by him and Marlowe, and Havlat was there for a bit. Heater was there for a little bit.
Well, they brought an entire line
back end.
They brought an entire line to the 2010 Olympics. It was Thornton, Marlowe, and Heatley.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So
yeah,
obviously, it's a really good class. It's a really solid class. I still am shocked that Carey Price was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. That to me is an odd snub. I don't know who you would take out of the guys who did get elected into the Hall of Fame. Like, obviously there's a limit. But like Carey Price, to me, if I would have put money on it, I would have thought he'd have been a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, his international resume in particular is so stellar with Team Canada.
Like everything, like no matter what, his World Juniors, Olympics, like the NHL. I mean, he probably had some World Championship success as well. I can't remember off the top of my head how often he played at the World Championships, but
never.
I mean, internationally, this guy was an absolute stud. Right
Yeah.
from a ripe age of 20 years old all the way to the bitter end. So he certainly will be a part of the 2026 class. If not, I will personally go to Toronto and riot on his behalf because look, he was the greatest goaltender of our generation, and he deserves to be respected as such as an early entrant into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, if you're looking at Carey Price representing Team Canada, if you start after the U18s, which it feels like really it's the under
Start from
20.
the World Juniors. Yeah, the World Junior
Yeah.
Championships.
So World Juniors, he had 6 games, 6-0.
Yeah,
Olympics, 5 games, 5-0. World Cup, 5 games, 5-0.
there
Never
you go.
lost
There you
in a
go.
professional setting or World Juniors with Team Canada.
Him and Sidney
Ridiculous.
Crosby. Him and Sidney Crosby never lost.
Yeah, unbelievable, those guys. And Carey Price will be a Hall of Famer. I'll go out on a limb and say that. Shout out to Jennifer Botterill. You see her if you're in Canada on Saturday nights. My kind of girl. Born in Ottawa, grew up in Winnipeg, but she had a legendary career representing Team Canada. Was the captain of the women's national team for a very, very long time. So extremely deserving for her. And then it was great to see Brianna Decker as well. She's had a hell of a career, Hall of Fame level career. So just going to be an awesome time getting to look back on what it takes, the trials and tribulations. You hear so many great stories during the induction speeches, and always a night to reflect on the history of the game. If you've never been to the Hockey Hall of Fame, it's awesome to go to. You have to go once. You have to go at least once.
The Museum of Hockey, dude. Like it's so much fun. Such a fun time.
It really is. And it's basically like the second the plaques go up this weekend, we'll be turning our attention to 2026 and who needs to be in that class. But who needs to be in our top 3 stars of the week? Hey, we said maybe I pandered a little bit with the Drake Batherson one. Well, guess what? The NHL named him the second star of the week, so I wasn't far off. But this is our midweek check-in on the 3 stars. That's next. You're listening to Locked On NHL, your team every day.
The NHL is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets from everything from who's going to score the next goal to third period comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network.
Welcome back, Locked On NHL, your team every day. Shout out to all of the everydayers making us your first listen. All across the network, we have local experts on the biggest stories 5 days a week. And in the last 7 days, we've had so many great stories in the National Hockey League. One that feels like we could do a stock update on this every week, probably be a little much this far out. But like, I'm looking at the top scorers in the NHL, and I am so scared. You know where I'm going with this, right?
I possibly like
Team Canada is going to make so many hard decisions.
Oh, front. I know. Like McDavid, Scheifele, McKinnon, Suzuki.
How can you
Macklin, Celebrini? Like those guys are all in the top 10. Nick Schmaltz.
Those three guys.
Yeah,
Suzuki,
Scheifele's got to be there. He's going to be
there. And Celebrini, but like, how many of those guys can replace? I think, hey, all due respect to Sam Bennett, I don't think you can take him over those plays. You just can't.
Yeah.
And Cirelli can be the fourth line center. Like you can slide Cirelli down easily.
Yeah.
But I think John Cooper's going to keep him.
I agree. I think that he will as well. And even like, I mean, Brandon Hagel's a Cooper guy, but like, you got to get Scheifele in there and like, I don't know, a Celebrini over Hagel probably makes some sense. Even Bedard's starting to pick it up, man. Like, but Bedsy's starting to get it going too. So
Tom Wilson's had a heck of a start to the season.
It's going to be a very difficult decision for Team Canada when that time comes. And we're just less than 2 months away from them having to name the roster at the end of next month. So curious if there's any if they still have some bets here. There are still some bets actually who's going to make the team. It
What's
doesn't look
Suzuki
like
at?
a lot.
I'm so
Suzuki
intrigued by this.
is minus 700.
No way. Suzuki
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, Scheifele minus 250.
And Celebrini.
Celebrini is minus 210.
Everybody's minus? What's Hagel?
Brandon Hagel is
And Anthony Cirelli. Those are the names I want
minus
to know.
450. And
Everybody's
Cirelli is minus 105. If you're looking for plus money guys, you're looking at, pretty much, what do you got
Nobody.
here? Hyman, Konechny, Robert Thomas, Bedard, Matthew Schaefer, which is a very interesting name, who has entered the chat.
Yes.
But
He's
outside
been phenomenal.
Outside of that, it's pretty bleak for plus money at this point. They have Sam Bennett at literally like minus 20,000. Like they have him as an absolute lock, essentially.
Yeah. Well, they've got like 30 guys for absolute locks right now.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to narrow it down.
Well, I mean, like these minus 250s, like those aren't locks, but they are, good chances. I'll be honest, I don't think that this market is worth betting a whole lot.
No, stick with the same game parlays. Stick with the please help the Sens parlay. It's 1-0 in the last one day. And honestly, it was please help the Leafs too, right? Like we're just looking at West teams to beat Atlantic teams right now.
Well,
just keep those points out West.
Anytime goals, and right now, I mean, there's a couple players who transitioned to the 3 stars of the week. There's a couple players you've been betting on them on FanDuel. You've been a happy camper like myself. So why don't we get into it, pal? You want to go with the 3 stars, 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3? How you want to do this, Rossi?
Let's do it like they do in the rink, 3, 2, 1. I like building to the top there. And look, I'm not going to take too much airtime with this one because we already talked about the whole team. But the Ducks don't go 3-0 without Lucas Dostal. 929 save percentage, only 6 goals allowed in 3 games. He was awesome, so he'll be my 3rd star of the week with a 929.
Yeah, I got a little Ducks flair, but it's a little higher up in my standings this week. Trevor Zegras is coming in as my 3rd star. But
former Duck.
Trevor Zegras. I mean, this guy's he's having a terrific season, man. Like Zegras has bounced back in a big way. He's got 2 goals, 6 points on the week. And Philly, man, like they're in a playoff spot, 7-5-1 this year. And a lot of that is because Trevor Zegras has really picked it up. The last week, 2 weeks or so, he's starting to get back to being his confident self. You could see it. And I heard an interview, actually, he did post-game I think it was after the Toronto game, or maybe it was right before the Toronto game. And he sounded like the trade really humbled him. And I feel like that he needed it, right? I think he needed a little bit of humility and eat a slice of humble pie to really hunker down, lock in, and allow him to get back to what makes him, one of the best players on the planet, one of the most creative players at the very least, and confident players. And he's been able to do that now that he's in Philadelphia. So big week for Zegras. He got my 3rd star.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to go with Mark Scheifele for my 2nd star. 5 points in 3 games, all even strength points for him. And he is just running through him and Kyle Connor. The mixtape that you can create of just those two putting up alley-oops to each other is incredible. They've combined for some beautiful goals this year. And with Adam Lowry out, with them really, I think it's fair to say, still struggling to lock in at who the number 2 center is going to be behind Scheifele. That puts a lot of pressure on him every single night. And he's delivered in a big way, not only this week, but on the season with 20 points. Like the next centerman on the Jets is Jonathan Taves in points with 7 in 13 games. And then Vlad Nemestikov with 7. Like he has tripled the production of any other centerman on his team. And I'm going to go with Mark Scheifele at number 2.
I like that pick. I've got Connor McDavid coming in at number 2. I mean, he's back. It's not that he ever left, but you blink and all of a sudden he's literally leading the league in points. And it was only a matter of time, I guess, before that happened. But now that team is getting healthier, they seem to have flipped a switch here over the last couple of weeks. And a big part of that is Connor McDavid. 7 points over the course of last week in just 3 or 4 games. This guy each and every night is making a highlight-worthy play. What else do you really need to say about McDavid? But, he's put up the production. The Oilers have gotten some victories, so he comes in as my 2nd star of the week.
You worried that he doesn't like shooting the puck enough?
Not really. I mean,
Like he's got 16 less shots on goal than McKinnon in one more game.
yeah, he's always kind of been that way though. Like, I mean,
I know.
McKinnon's the most aggressive shooter in the league. I think if you
I
look back
know.
the
I
last
know.
like 4 or 5 years, like he's averaging over 4 shots a game. Like he's that guy who's just out there
Well,
firing at will.
Shifley's even less than
It,
McDavid. Shifley's
it,
only taken 34 shots. I'm just looking at the
yeah,
top 3 point
I
scorers, but
just yeah, but McDavid's always been more of like a
but
playmaker facilitator than he has
except for the
been like
one year
a
where he's like,
scorer.
"Hey, I'm actually going to score this year," and then had 64.
Yeah, but it's like Crosby and like like it was kind of the same thing where he's like, I want to prove to everyone that I can score goals. So he went out and scored 50 and won a Rocket. It's like, all right, that's cool, but clearly making plays and being, just being a play driver is more his thing than get puck, shoot puck.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we're gonna split the first star with the Ducks here, so I'll let you pick yours.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it to the duo because I couldn't choose.
Okay, there you go. Go ahead. I can get
Yeah,
someone else.
like I gave it to. Well, you can take. I'll take one. You want to take the other. I don't really care. But I mean, Cutter Gauthier and Leo Carlsson are both absolutely on fire this week. Cutter Gauthier had a hat trick last night, first career hat trick, if I'm not mistaken. 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points on the week, which leads the NHL. Leo Carlsson, 7 points this week, and that's only through 3 games. Like, it's unbelievable. And like we were saying earlier, man, Cutter Gauthier leads the league with 10 goals. He's tied with a couple of players, but he's right there at the top of the table with everyone else. And it was a perfect week for the Anaheim Ducks. Perfect 3-0 this week for them, and those two guys are a big part of why. So I couldn't necessarily pick one or the other because they both played such a big role. So I gave it to the pair.
Yeah, I like that, and I'm kind of surprised you didn't go with Michael Bunting though, with his 6 points on the week. Your guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, yeah, bunts. If Nashville won more games, I guess maybe. I don't know. It's not bad. Bunting, a little 6-point week for him.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Yeah, I feel like I can't really take someone else because it'll just screw up my whole order. So I'll say you get Cutter Gauthier. I'll take Leo Carlsson because he's just
Sounds
so
good.
fun to watch, man. And he's another guy where it's like give him a couple more years when he's, I think, a little bit more settled into that role. Not that he's not, obviously he's playing fantastic hockey, but I think that once we see him, he's going to be a guy that wins over 55% of his faceoffs. He's so big and so strong. Guys just have to go through the growing pains there. And once he gets even more confident with controlling the puck, they'll get more shots on goal too. And the production is just going to skyrocket for him. So I think he's on the cusp of being talked about as like a top 15 centerman in the National Hockey League. We're not there yet, but with the size, skill, speed combination and his work ethic down low and everything, like he's going to be in the mix. Like Radko Gudas is one of the oldest captains in the league. And when his time's up,
sure.
like it's going to be probably Mason McTavish or Leo Carlsson to lead that team.
I would put Leo in there 100% as maybe a captain waiting there in Anaheim. But it's funny, man, because you look at that player specifically, and we're going into what, year 3? Is it year 3 for
year
him?
3, yes.
Yeah, year 3 for him, year 3 for Adam Fantilli. And I remember at the draft, it was somewhat of a shocker when the Ducks decided to go Leo Carlsson over Fantilli. And last year, it looked like that may not have been the correct decision. Fantilli had, I think, 31 goals last year and looked like every part of a future top-line center. And it was like, oh, maybe they should have went chalk and went with Fantilli. Fast forward to this year. I mean, Fantilli's struggling. I think he's got like 2 goals, 6 points, I think, so far this year. Meanwhile, you got 18 points so far on the year for Leo Carlsson, top 10 player in production. So it's going to be fascinating to kind of watch those two throughout their career to see who made the right call there for Anaheim. But
yeah,
definitely
Anaheim's
deserving of top stars.
Anaheim's drafting's been awesome. Like Seneca making the show, like you said.
Dude, they got a couple of defensemen also over the last couple of years that still need to, come through. Like
Stian Solberg.
Stian Solberg last year. Noah Warren, who was was he a QMJHL player?
Yeah, he was.
A couple years ago.
At one point, they had the Q, the dub, and the O.
Tristan Luneau too was the OHL defenseman of the year.
No, he was Q, defense of the year. Then they had Olin Zellweger out west and Pavel Minchikov in the OHL.
Oh, Minchikov, right. Minchikov was the OHL guy, but Tristan Luneau was a second-round pick of theirs a couple of years ago, who I think is a good defenseman too. It's kind of they're just too deep where he's playing in the American League. I hope the Leafs trade for him. Side note, but anyway.
Oh, that's your guy.
Yeah, I mean, I know him personally because when I did that CHL Top Prospects game, he was on my team with me and
your team,
Jeff O'Neill. I mean, I was a celebrity assistant coach. To me, he was probably the most impactful defenseman on that team, and Minchikov was on the team as well. But I thought that Luneau for me was probably one of the more impactful defensemen. Just did a lot of the small things right. Right-hand shot too. I think he's got a future as a top 4 defenseman.
Okay, you heard it here first. Go get his hockey card while you still can.
You can. It's pretty cheap. Speaking of hockey cards, got the Toronto Sport Card Expo this weekend too, which is going to be massive. So pretty sure Chara is going to be signing autographs. Now I think about it. Yeah, we usually get some
I
of the
have this photo. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe you can get a sign for me.
Yeah, hey, if you can ship it within the next 24 hours, perhaps try and get that done. Sundin's going to be down there as well. So
very nice.
Yeah, it's a really fun weekend.
That's awesome. Well, enjoy that. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week. We will be back next Wednesday. If you want to hear more from us, go check out Locked On Maple Leafs, Locked On Senators. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your team every day. For Mike DiStefano, I'm Ross Levitan, and we're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.